Hi dear. Hello everyone. Welcome back to channel that shares knowledge about comprehensive personal development through good books. Today, the topic I want to share with you is about learning how to study. Perhaps many of us have encountered situations like this. When we were in school, we often saw friends who grasped knowledge very well and took exams very easily, while we ourselves had to struggle to fully understand the knowledge. Then, entering the working environment, we also discover that there are people who not only complete their work well, they can also increase their passive income with side jobs, while we ourselves are busy and hardworking every day but the results are still not as expected. We may think that it is because they are good at studying, have innate abilities, so they quickly achieve many goals at the same time in life. And sometimes you also become jealous of those talented people, or comfort yourself because they have natural abilities while you are an ordinary person, so there is nothing to compare. But perhaps when you think like that, you have begun to deny yourself the opportunity to develop. In fact, modern people have become too familiar with labeling themselves. You will often hear, girls are not suitable to study block A, boys, who studies block C, or I am not suitable to study physics, I am afraid of numbers, I'm bad at computers, and so on. When you say such things, that is when you have begun to fool yourself. Physicist Richard Feynman once said, "The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, because you are the easiest person to be fooled on earth." The author of today's book that I want to share, Dr. Barbara Oakley, is a person who hated math and science from a young age, but later became a PhD and professor of engineering at the University of Auckland, Rochester, Michigan. She used her own experiences and based on the latest research in brain science, comprehensive psychology, as well as thinking models, to show us that if you cannot study well and cannot persevere, it is not because you are not hardworking enough, but because we do not have scientific study methods. Today's book will help you to change from not being able to learn to being able to learn well, even to achieve a more omnipotent state in many fields. Regardless of what you want to learn, regardless of whether you are a student or preparing to take an exam, to study for a master's or doctoral degree, or you want to learn a new skill to change your career or simply want to improve yourself according to your strengths, you can receive useful guidance from here. Then, let's listen to a sharing called Learn How to Learn, Create Core Competencies, through the book A Mind for Numbers, How to Excel at Math and Science by Dr. Barbara Oakley. And this book has a Vietnamese translation called How to Conquer Math and Science. I will leave detailed information about this book in the description of the video. First of all, we need to understand what learning ability is. Learning ability is not being able to memorize and immediately recite a piece of knowledge, a poem, or an event, etc., but are the psychological characteristics of an individual needed to engage in learning activities, and is also a combination of different abilities to complete learning activities successfully, including the ability to perceive, observe, the ability to read and understand, the ability to memorize, and the ability to solve problems, etc. In other words, learning ability is essentially a comprehensive ability, helping you master a number of basic concepts, certain skills, and be able to apply them in practice. So, how can we improve our learning ability? In fact, the core essence of this book will lie in three key phrases. First, change your mindset. Second, build blocks of knowledge. Third, eliminate learning barriers. Now, let's first understand how to transform the thinking model. So, what is a thinking model transformation? Before understanding this concept, let's look at an experiment. A scientist placed a few bees in a glass jar with a wide open mouth, and placed it horizontally with the bottom facing the window, where there was light. As a result, these bees continuously flew towards the bottom of the jar, trying to find a way out until they died. Meanwhile, the scientists put a few flies in the jar under similar conditions. They only needed a few minutes to find a way out. The reason is that the flies did not try to head towards the light source at all, but they flew around in the jar, experimenting with many different ways, and finally found a way out. In fact, in the learning process, we are no different from bees trapped in a jar. When focusing and thinking, the brain will act like a flashlight guiding us to find light to find a solution. However, being too eager to find the light will cause you to go into a dead end, and easily fall into a stereotype effect in thinking. That is, when you focus too much on thinking, you will easily go into a fixed way of thinking, and be hindered by the ideas that are already in your mind, so you cannot create a better solution. Therefore, we often encounter one of the biggest difficulties in learning, not being able to maintain a clear mind for a long time. You can't sit and study for long. When you are interested in opening a book, after a while you get discouraged and easily distracted, encounter a difficult problem and get stuck there, try to concentrate on solving it, but eventually you have to give up, and it leads to stress, blaming yourself for being weak, etc. In fact, at this time, the extremely simple way is to stop focusing and switch the mode of thinking to a different mode. Neuroscientists have researched that our brain has two modes of thinking: focused mode and diffuse mode. In a relaxed state, in daily life, the brain often switches continuously between these two modes, and they are both very important in the learning process. This means that you must learn how to actively switch between the two modes of thinking appropriately. For example, for some new concepts or problems that you have never been exposed to, if from the beginning you use focused mode to solve them, you will easily get stuck and have no direction. At this time, we should switch to the diffuse mode in time, get out of the deadlock and free ourselves from stress. When we are in the diffuse mode of thinking, a relaxed state will create opportunities for other brain regions to connect with each other, bringing you moments of brilliant and valuable thinking. It will not allow you to focus on solving a specific problem, but it can provide a more comprehensive vision, a more macro perspective, and can inspire you. The great inventor Thomas Edison is a typical example for us to learn from. When he encountered a difficult math problem, he would not stay up all night to solve it at all costs, but instead, he would go to sleep for a while. He would sit in a recliner with a ball in his hand. In a half-awake and half-asleep state, the brain will gradually relax and switch to diffuse mode of thinking. When the ball in his hand suddenly fell down and made a sound, and the sound of it hitting the dish woke him up, then Edison would capture the remaining fragments of that moment of diffuse thinking and solve the problem creatively. This is also the technique used to transform thinking. According to creativity research expert Horace Calkins has suggested the 3B method to us, that is to sleep, to take a bath, and to take the bus. When you encounter a problem that you cannot temporarily solve, you can choose one of the three ways above. Just take a break from work and do something different, whether it's going to sleep, taking a bath, taking the bus, listening to music, or walking alone. Or at least you should give yourself some time to be able to think unconsciously. You will naturally switch from focused mode to diffuse mode. After relaxing, you can return to the previous work, and at this time you will easily suddenly have an inspiration, and a new solution will appear in your mind. In addition, you can also exercise, dance, watch a movie, read a favorite novel, etc. Or the last way is to go to sleep. Even just dozing off for a while is also a very good solution. But here, there is one important thing you need to remember. That is, you need to be conscious and self-disciplined to return to work. Don't relax and let it go all day long. To maintain a lasting rhythm and increase learning efficiency, to give your brain more nutrients, the Pomodoro concentration method is a suitable option, or when you have to rack your brains to think a lot, you can switch to diffuse mode with a longer duration. Then, above is the method of transforming thinking that the author particularly emphasizes in our learning process. Next, when we talk about learning ability, then the ability to memorize, the ability to understand, and the ability to apply in practice are considered the most important. In the book, there is an example. In the late 20th century in the Soviet Union, there was a reporter named Solomon. This man had an outstanding memory ability. He only needed to look or hear something once to be able to memorize it verbatim. However, such a perfect memory ability caused difficulties for Solomon himself, making him unable to understand the essence of everything. From this problem, the author suggests that the ability to memorize is not important in seeing, hearing once or several times and memorizing, but it is important in how we understand the essence of the problem. Through that, she proposed a concept called knowledge block to solve this problem. So what is a knowledge block? First, we need to understand the process of how people memorize something. For example, when learning to speak, a child will start to learn the first sounds, such as the word mother. In this process, in fact, our brains will go through two stages, that is, the stage of concentration and the stage of speaking and repeating this word. When we focus on something, the nerve cells in the brain will begin to work, connecting some specific parts related to what we are focusing on. So, when focusing to be able to memorize the word mother, the nerve cells will connect with thoughts of the smile, the caress, the protection of the mother. Then, when practicing speaking, we will repeat the word mother, creating a neural circuit in the brain. When this cycle is activated, it will create a memory trace, and it will combine with many other related memory traces, making you automatically remember this word for a long time. So, focusing and repeating is a process of creating memory traces. In this process, our brain also has a latent ability, that is to select, find the main points, and put them together into a whole. This whole is also called the knowledge block. Looking back at Solomon's case, he had many memory traces containing diverse colors and rich emotions. But it was this that caused an obstacle for him when trying to create blocks of knowledge in a generalized way. We can understand it like this: if there is a forest, each tree for Solomon is too vivid to the point that he only sees each tree without realizing the whole forest. Whereas, the task when memorizing requires us to see the whole forest. Therefore, in the beginning, we should not focus too much on any one tree, but we must build knowledge blocks, and then focus and repeat. So here, we will specifically need to take 3 important steps in building blocks of knowledge as follows. The first step is to focus on the information you need to build. This requires you to focus absolutely on information that is meaningful and related to each other. If you are distracted like checking Facebook every now and then it is very difficult for you to build blocks of knowledge. Starting to learn something new is not only about creating a new neural circuit model, but also connecting the new model with the existing model in our brain. If you are distracted at this step, it will be very difficult to perform. Step 2 is to temporarily require yourself to understand the basic knowledge and be able to summarize to get the main idea. That's enough. We also do not need to go too deep into it. Then, step 3, we will need to collect background information. Background information means getting out of the original problem and looking at a broader perspective to consider the problem. In this step, you need to learn at the same time in 2 directions. First, you need to learn from the bottom up, that is, building blocks of knowledge, continuously reviewing, repeating to establish and consolidate knowledge blocks. At the same time, you will need to learn from the top down, that is, reading to expand your knowledge base, reviewing and practicing, understanding all the issues that are related and not related to the block of knowledge. Putting the knowledge block into a larger picture is the background information to know when and where to use them. It is like how we read a book. First, in order to have a general view, we should skim each chapter, grasp the main ideas of each section. The purpose is to see what the whole book is about in general. Then, put the knowledge blocks into an overall background to know when to use and apply in practice. The above 3 steps are very useful for me when learning and reading about a new field. It helps me have a broad overview, and in that picture I can clearly understand each information link, bringing related links together into a chain, and continue to combine with other blocks of knowledge that are already in my head. From there, my overall picture will become wider and wider. With this method, you will master knowledge, and your learning ability and efficiency will also gradually improve. Then, an extremely important part that we need to explore is how to consolidate the built knowledge block. First, we will have the method of recall. In the learning process, I don't know if you regularly do this method or not, which is reading and summarizing the main points. If so, be careful, this may be an ineffective way of learning. Because psychologists say that after reading many times, we will develop an illusion and a false feeling that we have fully understood this knowledge. But in fact, we only understand the surface and cannot truly understand it. After a while, when you need to apply the relevant knowledge, our memory has become blurred. Therefore, Dr. Barbara believes that in the learning process, we must often recall every day to be able to consolidate knowledge blocks. The way for us to recall correctly is as follows. After finishing reading a page of a book or learning a new knowledge, for example, you can look away and recall that knowledge, or at another ideal time, which is every evening after studying, you can close your eyes and remember the content you have learned. This will make your brain automatically extract important concepts, build blocks of knowledge, and help master knowledge better. However, in my opinion, you should try to do this action earlier before the day ends. You should not do it when you are preparing to go to bed. It will make your mind feel stressed, making it difficult to sleep well. In addition, there is one thing here that the author reminds us to pay close attention to, that is, we should be careful when marking and underlining while reading. Do not overuse this method of note-taking because it not only causes poor results, but can also cause you to get lost. Marking will make us deceive ourselves that our brain is working, while in reality we are only working with our hands. Usually, just underline one main sentence or a maximum of a paragraph is enough. In addition, you should write in the blank space in the book with the key concepts and points of view that you have drawn yourself so that you can review them at any time. And then, another method to consolidate knowledge blocks is to check yourself. Any content we learn, we receive, we must also check ourselves, ask questions based on existing knowledge. Finally, the key part to help you enhance your learning ability is to know how to eliminate learning barriers. The biggest learning barrier for modern people now is procrastination and not being able to focus absolutely. When it comes to procrastination, a better version video did earlier on this topic also shares the same view as the book, that we should not try our best to use all of our strong willpower to deal with procrastination. It will only be useless, because our brain is very similar to a cell phone. Psychological energy is like a battery. If you use it all up during the day and don't recharge it at night, then the next day you will not be able to turn it on. For example, when you are losing weight, you can control your cravings during the day, adhere to a healthy diet, but after a long day, you cannot control yourself and eat a big meal, feeling full. Therefore, the author emphasized, to deal with procrastination, we cannot rely on willpower, but more importantly, you need to clearly understand the nature of the reasons for procrastination in yourself. This book has a new discovery compared to other books in that it shows us why the brain procrastinates. First, there are many reasons for procrastination, but the underlying reason is actually because you are afraid. Medical research shows that one of the reasons why people don't want to learn math is because just thinking about math activates the pain center in the brain, causing them to naturally shrink back. Then, they will tend to avoid it, immediately wanting to find something that motivates them towards immediate gratification. So, they seek instant pleasure. People have an instinct to avoid suffering, but frequent avoidance can lead to negative effects in the long term. Procrastination researcher Ritard Ahmed once said that, the fear of doing a task will consume more time and energy than actually doing the task. Besides that, according to a study, it was found that when people who were afraid of math actually started learning math, the fear would disappear. What does this mean? It means that fear is actually just an initial predictive feeling of yours. You are not really afraid of it. Just overcome this feeling, you will be able to defeat the little demon inside you. Then, reason number 2, in some specific cases, the cause of procrastination is because in you there is a hidden gambling mentality. For example, I don't know if you've ever had an experience like this. Many times you complete a task at the deadline, even staying up all night. Although you are very tired, you still get a good result. So this has made you feel quite excited. However, it is no different from gambling. When you achieve a small success in a short time, you will have an optimistic spirit and be ready to repeat it again. Some people even believe that deadlines are the most powerful factor that helps increase productivity. Therefore, you always use that as an excuse to procrastinate. Water comes to my feet, then I'll jump. It is possible that in a short time, completing the work on time will help you increase efficiency, but over time you cannot always be so lucky and smooth. Moreover, this is only suitable for jobs that do not require completeness and systematicness. If faced with a larger task, it will be very difficult for you to ensure the quality of work, as well as develop your true capacity. And the third reason why we procrastinate is because we have to do things that we are not good at, or you are too perfectionist. When faced with a task that is much more difficult than your ability, you don't know where to start, so it is very easy to lead to procrastination. And the mentality of wanting to be perfect and be fully prepared will always make you hesitate. However, you need to understand that it's better to start and complete than to try for perfection. The author has given us what ways we can help ourselves overcome procrastination and focus absolutely. In fact, procrastination is very addictive, and being addicted also means that it has become your habit. Therefore, the author has suggested that we can defeat procrastination by the most important way, which is to change the habit cycle. What is the habit cycle? It is the process of forming, operating, and maintaining a person's habits. You can learn more about how to form habits and eliminate bad habits through video number 67, Your Luck is Hidden in Your Habits, through the book Tiny Habits that Better Version has mentioned in detail before. Here, Dr. Barbara divides the habit cycle into 4 steps: signal, process, reaction, reward mechanism, and belief. By trying to change these steps, we can eliminate the habit of procrastination and focus absolutely. So, in the first step, we need to avoid the interference of the signal. For example, in your weekend to-do list, the first thing you choose may be cleaning the house. This is a trigger point. However, this trigger point is easily affected by other trigger points. For example, when you stand up and prepare to clean the house, you suddenly receive a message from a friend. And then, you have to temporarily stop your work to talk to them. A message from a friend is a new trigger point. So, you need to create an environment without trigger points to avoid being affected, for example, turning off the phone, turning off the network, turning off notifications for a specific period of time. The next step is to adjust the response process. The response process includes the normal and automatic reactions of the brain when it receives a signal. Usually, whenever there is a signal of pressure or stimulation of the little demon who loves immediate pleasure in you, we will shift our focus from difficult work to easier and more enjoyable work. So it is important that you change the way you react to this signal. For example, in the process of working, you may have many thoughts that easily distract you. At this time, you can temporarily write down on paper the thoughts and reasons why you are not concentrating, and handle them after completing the work. In addition, you can use the Pomodoro method, set a period of time to focus. During this time, no matter how much you are disturbed, try not to stop the work at hand. Then, step number 3 is self-reward. For example, after a period of concentration, you can go out for a bit to relax. When you complete daily work on time, you can reward yourself by relaxing and watching a movie. Or you can make a deal with yourself that if you make great progress on a task, you will reward yourself with a gift that you love, etc. In fact, the power of habits lies in their ability to create a desire for emotions. To overcome the previous desire, we need a new reward and create a feeling of pride, satisfaction with achievement. Only when your brain begins to expect this new reward will an important transformation occur and you will be able to form a new habit. Then, in the final step, we need to build a strong belief to change the habit of procrastination. The most important thing is to believe that you can definitely do it. To develop this belief, you need to declare it to yourself and constantly affirm it by writing a diary of actions. This method is very simple. Write it once a week. In it, each week you should write down a list of important tasks to do. Then, each day, list a reasonable list of tasks that can be done. The daily planning should be done in the evening for the next day because it can help us find solutions when we encounter problems. Moreover, in my personal experience, the need to choose what to do in the early morning will consume some of the brain's energy and will make you less focused throughout the day. What we need to pay attention to next is that the amount of work should not be too much. In the book, it is advised that you should only do 5 to 10 goals a day, but for myself, I usually only achieve the goal of doing 3 to 5 tasks. The reason is explained very clearly in the video of the book The One Thing. I will not go into more detail here, but roughly speaking, you always need to identify one most important thing to do in a day, in a period from 3 months to 6 months, in half a year, or in 1 year, 5 years, or even 10 years and your whole life. And give all your heart and soul to do that important thing. One important thing is like a lever that causes you to create momentum for your entire life. So, here I will always identify one most important task for the day, then add 2 or 3 other tasks. This is also something to pay attention to regarding the order of priority of work. In the book it is advised that you should put the most important or unpleasant task in the first position. Completing this important work will give you a great sense of accomplishment and reduce your procrastination. Then, above are the 3 key methods from this book so that you can improve the quality and ability of learning. In addition, the book has many useful methods to enhance memory, such as using easy-to-remember visual images to replace important information that we want to remember, using vivid comparisons, using spaced repetition to consolidate knowledge, etc. Due to the limitations of making videos, I will not go into specific details here. You can learn more useful and effective techniques from this book. Finally, a few words of advice to everyone. On each journey of our lives, there are countless things that will change, but there is one thing that should not change, which is the spirit of continuous learning. Learning is a lifelong process of deliberate practice. In this process of continuous training, you will gradually build a core competence that can change your entire life. Perhaps after leaving school, the motivation to study in many of us has decreased. Setting goals and finding learning methods has also become difficult. This book will help you know that you are not really afraid, not inferior in front of things that are not your forte or you have never done. You can successfully learn anything you want, you can grasp new knowledge, understand the essence, memorize, and apply it by building blocks of knowledge for yourself, creating a huge picture in your brain. But besides that, you can still master the essence and apply it in practice. You can always maintain a high state by switching the mode of thinking. And in addition, you need to keep in mind that absolute concentration to eliminate procrastination, review, repeat regularly, check yourself, ask questions, have clear goals, and practice intentionally. When planning each day for yourself, you will realize one thing: that learning has never become a dark task, but instead, it will become a wonderful adventure. The constant progress, exploring new fields will make your life much more interesting. Thank you for listening. If you find this video useful, please share it with those who need it. Give me a like button, click the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to watch my latest weekly videos. Once again, thank you and see you in the next videos.